So I'm going to be 100% honest with everyone right now. This video has been slightly cursed from the moment I started recording. This is now the fourth or fifth time I've had to restart. And by restart, I mean I started and then the dog started barking. So I ended it, saw what he needed. Started the second video, turns out that there was another dog running around. So I went to take care of that, started the second video, got about 8 minutes into it, and then the dog came back. So I had to stop that video. Went outside, took care of that, came back, started a third video, and got a phone call halfway through it. So this is driving me slightly insane. So I may throw some of those bloopers in at the end just so you guys can enjoy my pain, but yes, this video has been slightly cursed. So you're going to see a jump cut because I'm going to put my phone on Do Not Disturb, but I needed this to be as raw and uncut. And as you can see, the damn cat is coming in and out as he pleases and not leaving my door alone. So a little quick 1-minute intro and then we're going to get into it. So with my phone now on Do Not Disturb, we're going to talk about Inside Out. Like I said, it's the third time I've tried to do this, so we're going to hope that Do Not Disturb does its job. And here we go. It's directed by Pete Docter from 2015, an animated family adventure starring, are you ready for an NBC cast reunion? Because pretty much everybody on the cast is from at least one or more NBC show. We've got Phyllis Smith, aka Phyllis Vance from The Office, as Sadness. Amy Poehler, aka Leslie Knope from Parks and Rec, as Joy. Mindy Kaling, aka Kelly from The Office, as Disgust. Bill Hader. Do I need to introduce the guy? He's in Toy Story 4 as Axel. He was Stefan on SNL. He played himself in The Office finale, and he was Captain Seth Dozerman on Brooklyn Nine-Nine. I know Brooklyn Nine-Nine recently went to NBC, and the episode he's in is from when it was still on Fox. But it's on NBC now, so I threw it in there. I also just love Bill Hader, and I will always tell you everything he's in. He plays Fear. Richard Kind, who we last saw in Toy Story 3 as Bookworm. He had various roles on Law & Order SVU as Bing Bong in this. Lewis Black, who also had various roles on Law & Order as Anger. Kyle MacLachlan, who had, once again, various roles on Law & Order SVU. He plays Riley's dad. And Rashida Jones, who you may know as Karen Filippelli from The Office, or Ann Perkins on Parks and Rec. She plays the cool girl. That's the credited name. I've tried looking out for it, but I think it's towards the end, and I just was a little distracted at the end of the film, but that's not the film's fault. As for non-NBC actors, and if they are in shows on NBC, I couldn't find it on their Wikipedia or IMDb. I keep saying it wrong. I get ahead of myself. We've got Caitlin Diaz as Riley, Diane Lane as Riley's mom, and John Ratzenberger as Fritz. As far as I know, Cheers was CBS. Nope, of course I'm wrong. So, Cheers was on NBC. Okay, well, I feel dumb now. So, if you don't know, let me find the cast list here so I can tell you 100% who he played. Alright, let's see. I know John Ratzenberger was on Cheers at one. I believe he was the mailman. Yep, he played Cliff Calvin, or Clavin. He was the mailman. I'm sorry, guys. I'm dumb. I should have known that Cheers was an NBC show. I used to actually watch it when it was on Netflix for whatever reason. I haven't seen it in so long, though. Moving on, though, the film has a 98% on Rotten Tomatoes. Very well earned in my mind. If it had 100, I wouldn't be surprised. I would definitely say this is worthy of getting a 100%, but, you know, Rotten Tomatoes does what Rotten Tomatoes does, and we just kind of let them do what they want to do. And off of a budget of 175 million, the film made 857.6 million. That's almost 5 times its budget. For a film to be successful, it has to double its budget. So if it has a budget of 100 million and it makes 200 million, it's considered successful because it made back what it cost plus the cost again, which is, for whatever reason, that's how Hollywood determines a film's success. So films like Solo, a Star Wars story, where they made, I think, like 10,000 more than it cost. That's a very, 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 very rough estimate. I cannot stress that. That's not the exact number. I can look it up, but what's the point? Solo's a good example because it did not do well. I love this movie. Not only does it look into the psyche of a child and the effects that moving has on an adolescent, but it's all around just really well made. Initially, Joy is afraid of sadness because when she touches a memory, it turns sad. But once the two accidentally leave the tower, they have to learn to get closer, which I enjoyed the natural progression. And that's thanks to the cast, both Phyllis Smith and Leslie Knope. And of course, it's pushed along by Richard Kind's Bing Bong, as he's kind of that comic relief character, but he's also there to be like, oh, well, hey, you know, this thing, let me show you this, and let me show you that. It's just quite an entertaining thing. Sadness has to learn how to be happy and find small moments of happiness throughout the film. Meanwhile, Joy has to learn how to be sad, you know, and not everything's all rainbows and butterflies. It's, you know, it's kind of cloudy and dark and gloomy a lot of the time. And it's a sad reality of our lives. You know, when you're a child, you think everything's wonderful. I mean, I work with kids. I see it all the time. Obviously, not all the time now because we're all stuck inside. But there are kids who, you know, they're all happy-go-lucky and nothing's ever going to happen to me. And then there's kids who have been through tragedy. And they're just kind of like, you know, life sucks. It's like, you're 8. What could be so hard? Well, they've lost someone close to them, and they now know the effects that, hey, you know, as we get older, we're gonna die. Luckily, that movie doesn't dive too deep into that because I can say I have a huge existential crisis in my life where death freaks me the fuck out. Now, yes, movies like Friday the 13th, The Belko Experiment, Child's Play, Halloween, that's all fake, so it's just like, I'll watch it. You know, it's not like the Final Destination franchise where it dives into, hey, death has a plan, and it's personifying something. Luckily, this movie does not do that, and that would be way too over the top, in my opinion, if it did do that. So, with joy learning how to be sad, and sadness learning some joy, the concept of mixed emotions is birthed inside of the child brain. Fear, anger, while they're out on their adventure, fear, anger, and disgust have to figure out how to run the show by themselves, and they give Riley the idea to run away. This then causes all the core memory islands like Hockey, Friendship, Family, Goofball, and there's a 5th one. It had a weird name, and it's blanking on me, but they all start to crumble and fall apart. And the control panel that the memories use, it turns black, signifying that she's falling into a depressive state. At the end, of course, joy and sadness return to fix the control tower, and they just fix everything, including getting a new control panel where all 5 emotions get their own space to react as one group in unison. Bing Bong is probably the best character, and of course, he is comic relief with one of the saddest death scenes in a Pixar movie. Move over, Ellie. This is sad. He and Joy get lost in the memory dump and find his rocket ship, which is powered by singing. Yeah, I don't know, it's a kid's movie. And they try to escape together. After multiple attempts and failing, he finally just decides that I just gotta let go. He gets out, he stays in the memory dump as Joy makes it to the top. And it signifies the loss of an imaginary friend inside of a child. And now, obviously, it's a personification of it, and this isn't necessarily what happens, but for the entire movie, you know, Bing Bong's been running around in the back of Riley's mind to finally no longer existing inside of her mind. Very sad, and it's kind of tough to watch, and yeah, I mean, yes, in Up, we watch Ellie die, and she's an actual character, and she is a human being who went through a rough life, but a long life. This is a character who's just kind of there. It's, you know, it's a backup. It's your imaginary friend, but it's still someone close to Riley. So, kind of sad to watch. Like I said, this doesn't dive too deep into the whole death idea, but it's still involved. There he goes again. I'm telling you, this video is cursed. Alright, so whoever put the voodoo curse on me to ruin my Inside Out video, could you maybe put the curse back on after I'm done? Thank you. So, luckily, obviously, his sacrifice wasn't in vain, and this movie always succeeds in evoking emotions in, you know, everybody, obviously. That's the core point of the movie. That's why there's sadness, anger, fear, joy, and disgust. Also, if you want a good look at Bing Bong, if you've never seen him, that's him. I read somewhere it's like a mix of a tiger with cotton candy. I don't know. I don't get into all of that. So, it also has a great representation of how emotions change in children becoming teenagers. The core memories, which are all happy memories, are given the sadness for her to play in Riley's mind when she returns to her parents after running away. Even though this basically the representation is, even though you have happy memories, they can still evoke sadness when you looking back on good times that you used to have. One of the memories that plays that always sticks out to me is Riley playing with a childhood friend. Thus, the idea of Friendship Island. So they're playing, and it's covered in a blue filter to signify that it's now a sad memory. Because she moved to San Francisco from Minnesota, she can no longer play with her friend. It's really very sad. And it's just what this movie is so good at, is personifying the emotions of a child that moving has on a person. I can say I've never moved around. We've always lived in one house for the past 21 years of my life anyway. So I don't know too much. I can't speak from the perspective of I had friends that I had to leave. Now, I have had friends come and go, but that's different. You know, you do lose friends, and, you know, they move other places. Let's see. Moving on, though, before we get too depressing. The acting, of course, is wonderful, and I love them all, especially Bill Hader. Shocker, I know. Amy Poehler and Richard Kind. They all knock it out of the park, as they always do. And I absolutely love the plot. And as far as the writing and such, yeah, it's absolutely great, too. The music is composed by Michael Giacchino. I'm going to butcher this, but I'm going to try it. Giacchino. I think I did that right. He composed the score for The Incredibles, Rogue One: A Star Wars Story, Doctor Strange, and Up. So he's no stranger to, at least Disney properties, because, you know, Pixar, Marvel, Star Wars, all Disney. And it's always awe-inspiring, and the music always helps evoke the emotions the scenes are going for. Before I end this, though, I have one last note. Pete Docter, who is the director for this, is highly regarded as one of the best Pixar directors. He is responsible for Monsters, Inc., the English dub of Howl's Moving Castle, which I've never seen. I've been meaning to watch it. I believe it's on Disney Plus. I'll get around to it eventually. Um, and of course the upcoming movie Soul. He was also on the story team for Toy Story, Toy Story 2, WALL-E, and a few others. But those are the big main three. So he's had his hands in the Pixar jar for ever since the beginning, and I agree that he is one of the best. He's clearly good at creating stories about unlikely creatures or events. He's clearly creative, and he always makes regarded films. This is one of them. Obviously, I'm giving this a 10 out of 10 and a Silver Shamrock, even though I have nothing to physically give the film yet. I'm working on that. I also highly recommend this movie to anyone, and I can't stress that enough. If you've never seen this, I 100% think you should. Tomorrow's another movie I recommend, which is Coco. After tomorrow, of course, Pixar Week will finally come to an end, and we will move on to the DCEU. The way that's going to work is on Sunday, I'm going to talk about Man of Steel, and then that night I'll probably release a video on Birds of Prey to kind of, here's where we started, here's where we're at in 2020. And then on Monday, I'm going to do, I believe, Batman v Superman. It's going to go kind of in release order, but since there's more than 7 films now. There's 9 with Harley Quinn and, or Birds of Prey, I should say, and Joker. So there's 9 films, and there's only 7 days in a week, and I just want to keep this down to a week. On Monday, I'm going to do Batman v Superman and then Joker. Luckily, I've already done a review for Joker. I just gotta find it. And then, I've already done Birds of Prey as well over on Instagram. So if you're curious on my thoughts about the 2 DC films I've already done, you can go follow my Instagram. And of course, so that's just how that week is gonna work. So with all that said, go watch Inside Out. This is definitely my favorite Pixar movie. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and do all the stuff. It really helps me out, I suppose. I've never looked at YouTube's algorithm. We're still working on getting the subscribers up so that we can make at least a bit of money off of these videos. They tell you to make them 10 minutes long, and it's like, well, I talk a lot, so that shouldn't be too difficult. So yeah, like I said, don't forget to like, subscribe, do all this stuff, and I will see you guys tomorrow with Coco.